be authentic. Don't forget where you came from. Listen to hear others, and really realize that leading someone or being a leader and being a manager are two different things. But you need to be able to do both to be effective and to help inspire.
You mentioned
Hello.
one thing which really stood out to me, which was listen to hear. And I think that a lot of those conversations sometimes involve critiquing somebody or offering criticism for another person on how they can get better. And sometimes we can resort into a sense of defensiveness where we're actually listening to respond. We're waiting for that space to respond so that we can make our point and not really listen to what we need to grow on. So what is your advice towards us as not only just in leadership roles, but in roles between our parents or our siblings or between your friends, on how we can actually take that criticism without automatically thinking that we're in this state of, I need to find someplace else to go because I've already failed here, and actually genuinely understand that this criticism is coming from a place of love and not just, I'm saying this because I need you to hear it.
I think, Fatima, you hit it right there, because one thing that we talk about a lot and that I talk about a lot is assume best intent. And I don't want to always assume that if somebody is giving me feedback, or honestly, that they're giving me feedback, I don't want to assume that it's criticism. And it's a lot of how you actually even take that. Do I take it as criticism? Because you hear constructive criticism, right? You hear all that. Or do you take it as feedback? And if you start thinking about it as feedback, then it takes a little bit of the sting of criticism, because criticism assumes that there's a problem, that there's something wrong. If it's feedback, it could be taking what was good and making it even better, or taking what is positive and making it even better. And I think that's an important thing. And as long as you are authentic in that as well, with individuals that you listen to or that you're talking to, and if you can assume their best intent, and hopefully they can assume your best intent, we start there, from that place of really trying to think of any way to make yourself better, more effective, more efficient, whatever it is, right? So an interesting way to kind of address that is when somebody offers that criticism, you thank them for it. And you say, oh, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Thank you. You are internalizing that this is something that I can take and grow and build from.
We were wondering any advice you had on sort of what to do in that situation where we sort of lose that confidence after some sort of failure or mistake, whatever it may be.
I think one of the big things to think about is when you, number one, don't focus on the failure. I mean, they'll go, hey, it happened. Okay, that didn't work. So whatever. But to think about the parts of what, okay, so what about this didn't quite work? But what I like to do is also focus on what's the stuff that did work. What are the things that we learned? What are the things that now I know this person or that person or whatever the project is? When something happens that didn't go the way that you want it to, I personally give myself 24 hours to kind of wallow in the sorrow and to be sad and to be angry and to do all that stuff. 25th hour, I'm like, all right, so let's look at it, see what we need to do different, see what project, is it worth it to me to go deeper into this thing? So is that something really that I need to do? Or is it something that we need to look at it in a completely different way and think about it? And know that if it's a failure, it's not just on you.
What advice would you give to us to learn from other people?
Huge. That's a huge thing. And it's interesting because, I haven't been in the classroom with students for probably 15 years now, but now my role is a little bit shifted, where I'm actually teaching teachers how to teach. One of the most important points of that, Erica, is that I teach the teachers that you've got just as much to learn from your students as they have from you. And in many cases, you can learn much more from them than they can learn from you. And I think it's being open to that idea. The hardest thing, particularly in history, that I've noticed when I'm training like high school teachers and others, when I tell these teachers, you may not know everything, and that's okay. You don't have to be the complete expert in the room on whatever it is. It's okay to say, I don't know, let's find out together. because I know for me personally, both, my personal life as a student and as a family and as a teacher, some of the coolest moments I've ever had is when we all learn something together and when we all figure that out, and that kind of moment of discovery. Because if it was just a matter of my students or my kids asking me this question and I just give them the answer, that's easy. That's is what it is. But when we can say, I'm not sure, let's check it out, that's a really cool thing. So I think the best advice that I have is for when I'm talking to my teachers, it's to keep that open mind, to say you don't have all the knowledge, period. Because if that's all it was, where you had all the knowledge, you might not be if you think that's what it is, you might not be in the right profession, let's say. I tell teachers that as well. But it's that idea of knowing what you don't know and being open to that and being okay with it. That's a huge thing.